This is NHL Wraparound's playoff math and deadline strategies, an 8-part series with snapshots of all 32 NHL teams coming out of the Olympic break and what their futures may hold in store. And in this show, we will feature Central Division Part 1, Colorado Avalanche, Minnesota Wild, Dallas Stars, and the Utah Mammoth. And the way we do this is we're going to give you the standing of each team as they resume play on Wednesday the 25th, key parts of their schedule, key personnel notes, and then Neil's take on what he believes the general managers of each respective team should do given their position. So we're going to start with the Colorado Avalanche, and the Avs leading the NHL, 83 points, 5 points clear of Minnesota in the Central Division, and they've got 3 games in hand, 6 points clear of Dallas, and they have 2 games in hand. But Neil, this is a team with 8 Olympians coming back and still on their schedule against Dallas and Minnesota. 3 games with the Stars, 2 of those on the road, 2 with Minnesota, both at home. This Olympics, big disappointment for a lot of the Avalanche that play for Team Canada in particular. Cale Makar, Nathan MacKinnon, Devon Toews. Where do you see them starting out of the break? Because they had this tremendous start to this season. They've leveled off a bit, but still a formidable club.
I just think that Colorado's the class of the NHL this season, and they will probably pick up where they left off. I would think that MacKinnon and Makar and Devon Toews in particular will be, so anxious to get back and get winning after the disappointment of the Olympics and the overtime win by the USA. So I expect them to just pick up where they left off and be running full blast. It's Stanley Cup or die for them this year.
One of the most baffling stats in the National Hockey League, when you consider the firepower that this team has, is that they are 32nd, dead last in the NHL on the power play. How is that even possible?
I don't know. It's incredible. Think about the players that are on that power play. I'm not going to name them all because they probably got 10 players that could be on the first power play of any team in the league. Never mind their first 5. I mean, it's just incredible. I don't understand it. I don't know why they're that low, but they are. But that's one area that obviously the coaching staff will want to focus on and try to make better going down the stretch run.
But I mean, you got the 2-point men. You've got MacKinnon. You've got Natchez. You've got, like you said, a cast of probably 10 players that can play with the extra man. Now, the flip side of this is they are number 2 in the league in penalty killing. But if you're Chris MacFarland right now, what are you looking to do to shore up this team to make certain that their number 1 standing is something that can carry them through the entire playoffs?
I just think depth players, there is no way to shore up a team that's already first overall and been there all season long. What you want to do is add to it and make sure that you're fortified and try to predict the unpredictable, which is injuries. And hope that if you get a defenseman injured, you've got a good, strong 7, 8, or 9 defenseman, and the same thing up front. Now, if you get Makar, MacKinnon, even Toews, and there's a number of others, Natchez and so on. If you get one of those guys hurt, you're not going to be able to fill in for him. You're going to be able to put somebody in their place, but you're not going to be able to find somebody to pick up where they left off. So you hope that you can get by, and those guys don't get hurt, of course. But depth is the thing that you want when you've got a window to win the cup.
One area that we have looked at in particular is defense, and they are still atop the NHL in goals against average. But they did hit a streak a little bit before the break where they were giving up a lot of goals. And, of course, defending was a big issue, in particular against Dallas in the opening round last year. Their ability to defend, their ability to shut down games. Would you be looking for perhaps a third pair type defenseman, a number 5, 6, even a 7 guy to give you a little bit extra depth, a stay-at-home kind of defenseman?
I would look for a 6-7 type guy and be willing to maybe give up some future for that. But they got to be very careful in Colorado that they can't throw away all their future for this year's team. Chris McFarland, I'm sure, is making sure that they keep their eye on the future as well. They don't want to have happen to them what happened to them a while back, where they ended up way down in the standings, picking first overall. And that's why their team is so great now, because they had such high picks. The perfect recipe is you get to win a cup or two like Tampa Bay, and you keep going and you stay competitive. They've done a miracle job of that in Tampa. Colorado's going to have to try to replicate that.
And some good news for them, of course, Gabe Landeskog, their captain, able to play in the Olympics and will be available when play resumes. Let's now move over to the Minnesota Wild. As we noted with the Colorado discussion, there's a 5-point separation between the Wild and the Avalanche. Wild have played 3 more games, key games on their schedule. They will face the Avalanche twice on the 26th of February, the second day back from the break, and again on March the 8th. They host the Dallas Stars, who they are on a collision course with for a first-round playoff matchup. They'll play home against Dallas on March 21st, and then at the Stars on April the 9th. This is a team that has 8 Olympians, so a lot of players coming back off the highs and lows of the Olympics. And they've also got a lot of unrestricted free agents. Vlad Tarasenko, Matt Zuccarello, Marcus Johansson, Vinny Hinostroza, and Zach Bogosian on the back line. But GM Bill Guerin has already hit his home run with the acquisition of Quinn Hughes. Where would you like to see this club bolster themselves for a deep cup run?
Well, first of all, I think that they've got to sign Matt Zuccarello back again at some point, because he's too important to that team. That locker room seemed to change as soon as he came back into the lineup from an injury that he had earlier in the season. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but when teams are in this position where Minnesota is, where they've got an opportunity and a bit of an open window, you don't want to do anything drastic. You want to do something that just bolsters your lineup, maybe gives you some people that can be on reserve, or just give you a little bit better third or fourth line edge against the opponents. But you go with the horses that got you there. And as you said, he already made his big deal with the acquisition of Quinn Hughes, which cost him quite a bit with Vancouver. He obviously has to get him signed, or else that trade doesn't look good for Bill Guerin, but he's got another year to go to get that done. If I was Bill Guerin, I would just keep looking around for people who can bolster what I already have.
What do you think the gold medal does for not only Quinn Hughes, but players like Brock Faber and Matt Boldy?
I think that it probably makes them feel what the feeling of real winning and jubilation and euphoria means at that level, which is similar to winning a Stanley Cup. It is such a huge event. And I think whenever you can experience winning at that level, it will help you immensely down the road.
Let's move over to the Dallas Stars. And of course, neck and neck, as we've already mentioned, with the Minnesota Wild. They have homestands of 5 and 6 games left. They are 16-7-3 at home this season. They take a 6-game winning streak out of the break and into the resumption of play. They have 3 games left with Colorado, 2 of them at home. And as we just mentioned, they have 1 on the road and 1 at home versus the Minnesota Wild. Key stat for them, 2nd-ranked power play in the league. They have 7 Olympians. But their key UFA is Captain Jamie Benn. But I can't think, with Ben spending his entire career with the Stars, that he's going to be going anywhere. But Jim Nill has had a run being GM of the year. I don't think he's going to be that this year, but I think he would trade that in order to be able to get a couple of more pieces to get this team over the top. And from my seat, the Stars are always one of the more befuddling teams because they can look like world beaters for 3-4 weeks, and then they look like they can't beat anybody. How does Neil construct this team down the road to avoid that?
One of the good stats for the Dallas Stars going down the stretch here is that they have 15 home games and only 10 on the road. Now, they're a good road team, and they're a very good home team, but it's always better to play at home and make somebody come into your barn in Dallas, Texas, than it is to be on the road. The question marks coming back from the Olympics, Mikko Rantanen, who didn't play for the Finns in the bronze game and was going to be reevaluated when he gets back to Dallas. They've already are missing Tyler Seguin, who has been a pretty good piece of that team for the last few years. I would imagine that Jim Nill will maybe add a piece here or there, but I don't think he's going to be doing anything drastic or trying to hit a home run by the deadline.
Glenn Gulutzan is the head coach of the Stars for the second time, and there's been a lot of experience in Dallas that came before him. Of course, Peter DeBoer and Rick Bowness were there. Ken Hitchcock had a spell. Lindy Ruff was there also. Why is this going to be different this time around, if it's going to be?
I don't know that it is, Vic. I don't know that it is. I think that this could be another bridesmaid season for the Dallas Stars. I mean, until they win, we don't know that they can win. And Ottinger's got to prove that he can win. He is one of the top netminders in the league, but you're never put way up at the top until you do win something. And Ottinger stumbled last year in the playoffs, which sort of led to Peter DeBoer's demise and his firing, and then Glenn Gulutzan coming in 2.0. We'll have to see if Jim Nill and Glenn Gulutzan think they have the right to concoction this year.
Utah Mammoth. This is a team right now that is fourth in the Central Division. They are wild card 1, and they are 4 points clear in terms of having a playoff berth. They've not been there in quite a while. Obviously acclimating very well to the Delta Center in their second year. Salt Lake City, they're 17-8-2 at home. They will finish their schedule with 9 out of 13 in their own building, but they will also have a 5-game road trip in early March. So that should set the table for them as they head down the stretch. They will have 2 home games against the Edmonton Oilers on March 24th and April the 7th. They have a home game with the LA Kings on March 22nd. Then 6 days later, they are at Crypto.com Arena. And then a home game against the Anaheim Ducks on March the 20th. This is another team, Neil, with a lot of unrestricted free agents. Nick Schmaltz, Alex Kerfoot, Kevin Stenlund, Michael Carcone, Kelly Yamamoto, and on defense, Ian Cole and Nick DeSimone, and backup goaltender Vitek Vanacek. This is a team like the Colorado Avalanche. There's a lot of scoring on this club, but they are 31st on the power play.
It's inexplicable. I mean, you really don't understand when you've got Clayton Keller and his group out there, the amount of talent that they have up front on this, that they can't get their power play going. Having said that, Bill Armstrong's got to stick to the plan that he brought to Utah with him from Phoenix when they were the Arizona Coyotes, and keep looking to the future and building this young team. Now, the problem is this season in 25-26 is that, like Detroit, like Buffalo, like Columbus, the fans are sick of missing the playoffs. And Utah, it's only been their second season. However, I'm sure that Ryan Smith, the owner there, wants this team to be in the playoffs, get some playoff experience into that building. And I'm sure that they will be doing whatever they can without breaking their plan. And that is so difficult because you don't want to let go of any future for now. But at the same time, you want to sneak into the playoffs at least and give your fans a little bit of playoff hockey this year.
Clayton Keller has been a terrific captain for them. They have also been bolstered by Dylan Guenther. And the team is also hopeful that Logan Cooley is going to be able to come back from injury not long after this break ends.
Absolutely, because they need him, and to get into the playoffs, they're going to need everybody going really well. This is going to be one that's really interesting to watch Utah and watch this part of the season. 2 years ago, when the rumor came out that the club might move to Utah from Arizona, the bottom fell out on them. They were going okay. They were in the playoff. They were in the wild card mix. And all of a sudden, that rumor came out and they fell. Last season, they didn't make the playoffs. They were a lot closer, but they had a very bad home record, which really sort of hurt their chances of getting into the playoffs. Yeah. This year, they're good at home. Their road record is not as good as it was last year. In fact, on the road, they're under 500. They're 13, 15, and 2. So they've got to pick it up on the road. And as you said, that 5-game road trip is really important for them to get some W's and ensure their spot.
Let's see if Andre Tourigny and his troops can get this thing to the finish line and get the Mammoth in the playoffs. That wraps up this edition of NHL Wraparound's Playoff Math and Deadline Strategies. Check out our other 7 shows to be up to date with everything around the NHL coming out of the Olympic break.